Garrett Rolfe, the fired Atlanta police officer who fatally shot Rayshard Brooks in a Wendy's parking lot, now charged with 11 counts, including felony murder. His fellow officer, Devin Brosnan, also facing charges.
Well, the DA giving both officers until 6 p.m. tomorrow to turn themselves in. The charges coming 5 days after Rayshard Brooks was shot and killed. 11 Alive Joe Henke is live outside the Fulton County Courthouse with more. Joe?
Well, Ron and Sheriff Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard says his office and investigators started looking into this case at 1:15 a.m. this past Saturday, and they worked this case around the clock ever since then. In total, they have reviewed 8 different videos of the incident. They have interviewed and talked with 10 different witnesses. They also have preliminary autopsy and ballistic results from this incident. All of that, Howard says, led to his office filing charges today. First, here are the charges against former Atlanta police officer Garrett Rolfe. That includes felony murder for the killing of Rayshard Brooks. There is also several counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for actions against Brooks, and also a shot that went into a vehicle of bystanders. There's a charge of criminal property damage, 4 counts of violating his oath of office for not informing Brooks of the reason for being arrested, firing a taser as Brooks ran away, excessive force, and failure to render timely medical aid. He is also charged with aggravated assault for allegedly kicking Brooks in the head after he was shot. Meanwhile, Officer Devin Brosnan, currently on administrative duty with Atlanta Police, is charged with aggravated assault, Howard says, for standing on Brooks's shoulder after he was shot and on the ground, and 2 counts of violating his oath of office, once again for standing on Brooks's shoulder and not rendering timely medical aid. During Howard's press conference, we learned the new detail of Rolfe allegedly kicking Brooks once he was on the ground after being shot. We also learned the details of Brosnan, Howard says, standing on Brooks's shoulder. Howard says Brosnan admitted to the DA's office of standing on Brooks because he was not sure what was taking place at the moment and didn't know if Brooks was armed. Howard, though, says the officers already had determined Brooks was unarmed. For the DA's office, here's what filing a murder charge in this case against Rolfe came down to.
At the critical point of the shooting, what the evidence shows that he was some 18 feet 3 inches away. His back was turned. And I believe a reasonable person would conclude that he was not an immediate threat at that time.
And attorney Lance LaRusso, representing Officer Garrett Rolfe, released a statement before Howard's announcement today. LaRusso details Brooks in that statement resisting the DUI arrest and punching Rolfe in the face. Rolfe's attorney says the officer used his taser twice with no effect on Brooks, and says Rolfe heard what he thought was a gunshot and saw a flash in front of him, and argues the use of force was justified under Georgia law. District Attorney Paul Howard today says he anticipates presenting this case in the future to a grand jury to see if the 2 officers will be indicted, but because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, he believes he might not be able to present this case to a grand jury until October at the earliest. We'll send it back to you in studio.
All right, Joe, thanks a lot for the update there. And folks, within the last half hour, the GBI tweeted that it was not aware of today's press conference before it was conducted. The agency was not consulted on charges filed by the district attorney. Despite today's occurrence, the GBI will complete its mission of completing an impartial and thorough investigation of this incident, and we will submit the file once completed to the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. And you know, shortly after the press conference, DA Howard was met by protesters right outside the courthouse, demanding that Rolfe and Brosnan be arrested immediately. Howard spoke to the group and addressed some of their questions before leaving. And Fulton County DA Paul Howard spoke about Officer Devin Brosnan, willing to testify against his former partner, Officer Rolfe. But I spoke with Brosnan's attorney about 30 minutes ago, and she says their client has not agreed to be a state's witness. She says it's just not true.
Well, we are stunned that Devin is being charged at all. We were particularly surprised today to hear Paul Howard say that our client had agreed to testify against Officer Rolfe and that our client had agreed to become a state's witness. That's not true. That agreement is not in place. We are cooperating with their investigation. He has made no such agreement, and that was not discussed.
Well, she has a lot more to say about her client and what he says happened the night of the shooting. We're going to have a lot more tonight at 11 on Up Late.
Less than an hour after the charges were announced, the family of Rayshard Brooks shared their thoughts in an emotional press conference. John Schierick was there and joins us with more. And John, Brooks' wife talked about how painful it was today to learn more details about what happened.
She did, and attorneys for the family of Rayshard Brooks and the family say that the charges against the officer amount to step one. Step two, they say, would be convictions on all charges. And Tamika Miller, the widow of Rayshard Brooks, said that she is grateful that the DA is investigating all of this, but she just can't bear to hear the details of what he's telling her happened to her husband.
I was very hurt. I didn't imagine being there because I don't know what I would have done if I would have seen that for myself. But I felt everything that he felt just by hearing what he went through. And it hurt. It hurt really bad.
Was this justice today? Not yet. We still don't have a definition for it. There's more heartache that families have to go through this and fight the public to try and get justice for a man that was shot in the back twice.
And this case has a long way to go. Again, the attorneys for the two officers are already disputing key points of what the DA said today. And as you heard Joe Hankey say a few moments ago, it may be late this year or early next year before the case even goes before a grand jury.
Yeah, a lot ahead for the family in this case. And John, thank you so much. We do have more of that press conference streamed on 11alive.com. And within the last 30 minutes, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms issued a statement about today's charges, reading in part, "It is my hope that justice will be served not only for the family of Mr. Brooks, but for the victims and families of the other use of force cases waiting to be resolved by the district attorney." You'll find much more on 11alive.com, including videos and interviews. It's also where you can sign up for news alerts to receive the latest updates on this case as soon as they happen.